Okay, Thursday, November 7th, 2024. I'm on my way to the gym. So I think since my last video, the election wasn't finalized. I mean, we knew Trump was winning, but it was only calls from the media. They hadn't actually even finished counting, but it would look like it was, you know, they call it early if they say, okay, the guy's up like 5% with 98% of the vote. Hey, Petro. So, but now I think it's official, and why is it official? Because Kamala conceded. You know, she didn't ask for a recount or any of this stuff, but it wasn't that close. But there is this period where you can contest the election and everything. I think there's another official thing where they actually, you know, I think that's what happened on January 6th, the last time around. They actually certify this, and then Trump is like really the president, but right now I guess he's the president-elect. So I think he can start doing stuff. And you know, I'll tell you, I have a friend in Ukraine who's in the army, and he was wounded in Kursk. You know, he broke his arm. I wouldn't say wounded like hit by a bullet, but when he was escaping, they fell out of a window. The drone hit the house they were sleeping in on the first floor, blew up all the ammo, started a fire, and then he had to jump out of a second floor window because there was fire everywhere else, and you know, when he crashed to the ground, he busted his arm. So I could say injured. Injured is a better word. You know, he was in that, and he was actually quite happy with this result. You know, he was 44 years old when he was picked up off the street and conscripted to the Ukrainian army, and given like 2 or 3 weeks training, and then there he is in Kursk on the front lines, just like an American Army Ranger who'd went through 8 weeks of Army boot camp, you know, 4 weeks of advanced individual training, then 3 weeks of jump school, then 8 weeks of Ranger school, then some workups and deployments. They were usually, by the time an Army Ranger in the U.S. gets in the field, they've been in the Army already like, I think around at least 6 months. I've heard they go pretty fast. The SEALs take 3 years before a SEAL goes into a combat zone, you know, with workups and, you know, training and advanced training and specialty schools and all this. So these guys are doing it in 2 to 4 weeks, you know, and without air cover. So, of course, you know, he wants to live and he doesn't see where it's going. You know, it's like they're always on shortage of ammunition. You know, officer leadership is not that good. You know, so, yeah, this is just straight from the horse's mouth. I know people who are there. You know, I am on social media like LinkedIn, and you know, I follow a few of these guys like Roman Shermata or whatever, and a few of these other people, and they post stuff. And you know, I have all these Ukrainians in the U.S. or who got medical certificates and left Ukraine. You know, and all these people living abroad. You know, and they're the ones who want to keep this war going. And then I call them out. I said, well, why don't you come back? I said, I know a couple army units that would gladly, you know, like to have you, you know, and if you want to keep this going, you know, so this is really what's happening here and how people feel. You know, I mean, they don't say it so openly, but the guys who are doing the fighting, they want this to end, of course. But the people not doing the fighting, they want to keep this going without any clear strategy. You know, without, you know, they just keep throwing people into the meat grinder, you know, without any real clear strategy of where it's going or what the aim is. Because the strategy was that Ukraine would keep this going and grind down Russia, right? And Russia, the sanctions and everything would finally catch up and they wouldn't be able to build new weapons. But the problem with the sanctions is, like anything else, you throw a rock in the river, the water will find its way around it. So Russia has found ways around the sanctions through the stands, through Georgia, through you know, United Arab Emirates, and they're talking about these Shahed drones containing parts from the U.S. Well, these are very mundane parts you can buy at Walmart, you know, and things like this, or there's some like low-tech microchips, you know, things like this. They can be gotten by an agent in the U.S. and they wouldn't even know they're doing it. Someone could probably just tell them, you know, they're probably selling this stuff on Amazon and someone buys it and then they send it to someone in a friendly country in Europe, and then it just gets on a truck, goes down to Turkey, or goes, Turkey is probably another conduit for evasion, or, just goes through a logistics, just like any other Amazon or stuff, and it ends up in a Russian factory. So it's pretty hard to, keep sanctions for a long time. I learned this in business school, I think, and also in the Navy during some education we had about how these things work. It's, and from the financial side, they're already doing this workaround, trying to, with this BRICS thing. I mean, I don't believe in it that much, but they are getting around it with the Chinese, the Indians, the Arabs. They are finding workarounds. Even here, they're still buying oil, or still selling oil and gas to Europe. Europe is still one of the biggest buyers of Russian oil and gas. I don't get it. So like I say, what it comes all back around to is these guys on the front lines. They know this, and they're trying to figure out what's the point. And that's why the Trump victory is welcome here in Ukraine. So yeah, it's more welcome than people think. It's only these bloggers are unhappy about it. And like I said, Harris would just keep this going until everybody's dead. And then anyway, then the Russians would come in. They would let it go like South Vietnam after they grind everybody down. Then they would anyway, in 8 years, 12 years, however long they want to keep it going, how much money they want to take out of this country. And then they would just drop it anyway, thinking that they're grinding down Russia. I mean, we had done some calculations in a previous video. At the rate of 400, 500,000 men a year, they can do this for like 40 more years. They're just taking guys from the villages, the poorest of the poor, and old men and everything, prisoners. They've got, and now they got Koreans helping them. So, the whole world didn't get on board with sanctions. It was just the Americans, just some European countries, and they weren't being honest about it. There were still some backdoor deals going on, some loopholes. So what's the point? What is the we need to do something different, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result every time, that's insanity. And so this vector is not sustainable. This is not a sustainable vector. And now I want to talk about Trump. So hopefully he said he would get this thing over in one day. So he should be in his interim office by Monday, I hope, since Harris already conceded. He has an overwhelming popular vote victory. Like I said, he even won Michigan. I mean, he blew this election out of the water. I was expecting this to take a long time, that we would be down to Arizona and Nevada if he didn't win Pennsylvania. And those states take forever to return results. But now he's here, so what does he do now? As I said in the previous video, he needs to let his team do their job. He needs to get out of the way and let his team do the job. So what can he do? He can stop this war. He's the best front person for America, and that's what his job should be, is being the front person. He should make the deals, do the discussions, make the speeches. He's got to do a lot of work for 2028. The Congress needs to be at 75% Republican. The House of Representatives needs to be 75% Republican. 75% of the states, governors, should be Republican. Then they can start amending the Constitution. So that really should be Trump's main thing. Get this war over, get this mess in Israel stopped, and just calm everything down. And then he's got to go out there and keep selling the MAGA, and get a 75% so we can start amending the Constitution, get those term limits, that we can't have people spending their whole life in the politics, that they get like a maximum of 12 years, between the House, the Senate, and the presidency, or something like that. Or no, the presidency already has term limits. They already have an amendment for that. So you can only be president twice, but the House and the Senate should have a term limit, maybe maximum 12 years. So you can be in the House for 6 times, or you can be a senator twice, or you can be in the House 3 times and a senator once, something like that. Or they can have a, maximum, they'll figure it out. But it should be something where, you're not like Strom Thurmond, 99 years old and been in there all this time. Then nothing will change in this country. We need fresh meat, and new ideas. That's how you keep the innovation. And we need to keep up the competition, in the government. So that's what Trump ought to do. He ought to keep building this momentum and keep doing those rallies and talk about, people eating dogs and cats and whatever he has to do. He just got to go out there and do it. And, like I said, the Democrats killed a squirrel, someone's pet squirrel. So he needs to take care of that guy, and bring attention to that this is how out of control sometimes the government can be. I mean, they took a guy's pet and euthanized it, without due process. I mean, this is for us it sounds funny and everything, but for some people these pets are their children, and this guy is probably in some shock right now. So yeah, that's what Trump's got to do. And then J.D. Vance should be he won't have much to do, because there's already, usually all the vice president does is break ties in the Senate, but there's already a 52 Republican Senate. So there's nothing for him to do in the Senate, really, unless some of the Republicans jump over to the other side or something to be a tiebreaker. So he would be like the chief of staff. He would make sure, he would execute on Trump's policy without all the hysterics. He would actually get the stuff done, organize the people, put them in the right place. And really what you want to do is get him ready for the 2028 presidency. And then what to do about the border. We got to get Ron DeSantis. We got to pull him out of Florida. I mean, nobody has done deportations better than Ron DeSantis. So we got to get him in and make him head of Department of Homeland Security. So he would run, I guess, the FBI, the Immigration Naturalization Service, or INS. I don't know what they call it now. Border Protection Services. I think that all falls under Homeland Security. So Ron DeSantis should own that. And then Vivek Ramaswamy, he would be a good Secretary of State. We got to get him groomed for a presidency in the future as well. Ron too, Ron DeSantis, actually, he was my favorite. But right now we need him to fix the border and fix national security. He did a really good job of that in Florida. He handled the natural disaster really well. He's really good at this. He's like a general, And so we got Ron DeSantis, we got Vivek, and then Elon. I guess Elon would do all this cost cutting. I don't know where that would fall under, the Department of Treasury. He would be the Secretary of Treasury, and he would get all this cost cutting going in the government so that we can get the same quality of services, but with less resources. So instead of 5 people, handling your paperwork, would be like one computer system, and you would still get your, single mother payment or whatever taken care of, but without all the overhead. And Nikki Haley, they got to find a role for her. I don't know if she'd I guess she would come back, because she's in contention to be a president in the future, and we got to groom these people. So she could also be she was already Secretary of State, I think, and handling all these foreign affairs. But Vivek might be good in the science and the tech part too, so it'd be hard. I think if Nikki wanted to do another round as Secretary of State again, she's known. Maybe she'd go for it if she wanted to do something new. I'm not sure where she would fit. She was a governor, so she would be good at something that's doing with logistics and administration and getting stuff across. But yeah, we need Trump to be out of the way. We can't have him doing what happened before. Like last time, he had a really good team: Steve Bannon, Reince Priebus, General Mike Flynn. Actually, I liked all these guys, and I thought that was a really good team. And then they all started fighting with each other, and then he brought in his son-in-law and Ivanka, and then everything started going off the rails. So I hope he leaves his team alone. And the only way he's going to leave his team alone is you stick him in that Air Force One and have him go do rallies, for the next 4 years to get this Congress and Senate up to 75%, all the state governors, you know, so we can, like I said, pass amendments to the Constitution. Like we need an amendment for, like I said, the voting process. You know, we need that to make sure that the vote, there's like national voter ID. Voting is only done on one day. Absentee process is well defined, or early voting processes are well defined, so there can't be any more cheating and rigging. And we can get results right away. And that's where Elon and Vivek can come in and discuss technologies like Oracle databases and stuff. So you can go online and see that your vote was properly counted, you know, by just plugging in your ID card into some reader, or, you know, scanning it by RFID. I mean, they can come up with something that's 21st century. I mean, we're still doing elections like we did in the 1700s. It's crazy. I mean, I think they have some machines out there and stuff, but I think mostly it's still a pretty old process. That's why it takes so long. And then what else do we need to amend on the Constitution? Yeah, the term limits, as I discussed. And then I think there was a third amendment that I thought would have been good, like, yeah, defining citizenship. You know, the whole meaning of what a citizen in the U.S. is. You know, that you're born American, or, you know, and what the naturalization process should be. And it should be hard. You know, becoming a U.S. citizen should be, like, really hard. Right now it's really easy. When I became a Norwegian citizen, you know, I'm a dual citizen. I can vote in both countries. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. I had to go through a lot of classes, courses. I had to do so many things, you know, and yeah, it was not easy. I've got a lot of videos where I talk about that. But yeah, so, and then, you know, Elon, he's also, I guess, going to be in the science. I mean, these guys will all cross over. Like Vivek is good in science too, you know, but he's also like a really good speaker. That's why I was thinking he'd be a good Secretary of State, and he has a very clear vision. You know, he shares Trump's vision of America's role in the world. I mean, America still has to babysit Europe. I don't think, but he can at least scare him a little bit. But I don't think America will ever be removed from this being the policeman for the free world. I mean, Europe is just screwed up. Europe can't do anything, you know. They have like Ron Jeremy's private part, but they can't get it up, you know, because they argue among themselves too much. You know, it's just, you know, I mean, Europe is just not designed for this, designed for war, designed for crisis. They're